there he is, the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Ren Jones, CEO of Vulcan, and a good
Well,
welcome.
you.
Welcome. We're so excited to have you today because you have had such a fun journey in real estate. You're a multi-passionate entrepreneur, and you're just fun to be around and fun to talk to. So I'm excited to bring you to our audience today.
You are the fun visionary.
Yeah.
We know. Even
Yeah.
so many people.
Thank you, Ren. Thank you. My whole fan base of 6 people. Yes, I do inspire them every day.
Oh, your downline. Was that what we're talking about now?
That's right. That's right. That's right. Let's start off by getting our audience to know you. Who is Ren Jones? So give them a little blurb about how you got into real estate, how long you've been on this crazy journey.
Yeah, I got into real estate a good long time ago and spent 3 years working with buyers. And then instead of leaving the business like a lot of people do, I'm like, I think I have to list a property. So I got involved with someone we both know, Mike Ferry at the time, and learned how to list property in a big way, embrace repetitious boredom, and list a lot of houses. And it just went, woo, because you get that done and you got it. If you're working with buyers and with what's coming up with NAR, oh man, it's a day. Listing property is the only way to go. And pretty soon it may be the only way to go.
They are only listing agents in so many European countries, including Australia. I was talking to an Australian listing agent. He said, you Americans are spoiled. He said, we don't have buyer agents and we only make 1% on our commission. So stop whining and get to work.
I know you did have a lucky or did. So
Yeah. Still are lucky, Ren. It's still good. It's still good.
yeah, but being in the industry is good wherever you live.
Yeah, absolutely. So you were a buyer's agent, you transitioned to listing agent, but before, think back to that time.
They didn't have teams then, so I was just working here. So
Yeah. They didn't have teams when I joined real estate 24 years ago either. When you started, what was the pain when you saw the listing presentation? They said, hey, kid, memorize this and then go say it in front of people. Was there any inferiority complex or worry or I don't like scripts at the time? Did you ever reject that process?
I know the whole world does. They're like, I don't like scripts. They're offensive. The poor use of a script is offensive. The
Exactly.
poor use of a script is offensive.
Exactly.
If you have internalized it, you're very efficient. You're serving the customer well if you've internalized that because you can pay attention to them and not be thinking about what am I going to say next.
Exactly. I love that. So did you have challenges as a young budding top listing agent? Did you reject that model or did you just say,
Oh, I embraced it. Yeah. And the sooner I internalized it, the better it was.
yeah, yeah,
We all did. We internalized it, we'd start on the script and then they'd ask us a question and we'd totally lose it.
totally get off script. So
Take a look at your home and get on. And then they would say something and you'd be like, go here. And you're off script.
you're off script. And the goal of the script is to get you right back on. But how long did it take you from your first listing to being a listing agent that took 100, you were selling 150 to 180 homes a year. That's a lot even for today. But back then that was like selling 1,000.
Right. Yeah. There were no teams. It was just me and then eventually 2 buyer agents and then assistants.
Yeah. So how long did it take you to get to that production? Was it 5 years, 10 years?
Just because I just totally embraced the whole coaching thing and everybody needs to be involved in some coaching.
Agreed.
So internalizing the scripts, I think year one of that, I sold 19 homes the first year of focusing on listings, and then into the 30s and then the 50. And then somewhere after about 5 or 6 years, I got up to around 100 and then moved to 100. And then once you get past about selling 70 or 80 a year, it's easy to get up to 120, 150 and on.
It really is. It really is.
It's because there's an efficiency model because you're doing the same thing over and over again. And so the goal was just list 3 homes a week, basically. 3.
Right.
And sometimes it was 4 a week. Sometimes it was about a week. I could think of days where I went on 3 listing appointments and listed all 3 in one day. You just repeat, lather, rinse, and repeat.
Yeah. And it's interesting that you said 5 or 6 years, because I was just doing another podcast with another coach and he said, we were failing our people because we didn't set their expectations when they joined our team enough. And we were telling them that, hey, to make $100,000, it might take you 2 or 3 years. for you 5 or 6 years to get to 70, 80, 90. That's reality, I think, in any real estate.
Yeah, it's reality. I guess I'm a slow learner because I've seen several people get involved with us at Vulcan7, and they're like 18 months in the business and they're making 600,000 a year
Right, right.
listing property, but they're maniacs. They're prospecting 5 hours a day.
Exactly.
But what's wrong with prospecting 5 hours a day and making 650,000 a year?
Well,
Uh, it's a hoot.
yeah.
Well, now
that-
I'm just not that fast. And a friend of mine, around the same time I was taking 5 or 6 years, he did it in about 2.5 years.
wow.
And so some of us are turtles and some of us are rabbits. I guess I was a
Turtle, that's okay. It took me a good 4 years to ramp up and get there. And do you remember Kathy Anderson? Very well. So she was my coach. And so Kathy would say to me, I said, how could I sell 50 homes a year? I think I was selling 30. She said, you will do it. We'll get there. And when you sell 50, I'll get you to 100. It's going to be easier. And I thought she was
yeah.
a liar. And I'm telling you, it was easier to sell 130 than it was to sell 30. Because-
Right. I was interviewing this guy. We had an audience, and he's a very effective coach in Richmond, Virginia,
Uh-huh.
John Daylor. And at the time, he was selling about 160 homes at the time. Lady goes, I don't know if I want to work that hard selling 160 homes. He goes, well, let me explain it. When I was selling 50 homes, I was working 6.5 days a week. When I was got to 75, I was working 6 days a week. When I got to 100 homes, I was working 5 days a week. When I got to 125 homes, I was working 4.5 days a week. Now I'm working 3.5 to 4 days a week at 160 transactions a year.
Right.
So the higher you build that, the less you work. I know that sounds strange, but it is an inverse.
It's true because you have the ability to afford good help and their partners that take the heavy lift off. And really, your job is to be on the phones and negotiate contracts and go
Right.
on a
Definitely. So the efficiency, everybody having their roles, it's just so much because you're never taking a buyer.
No.
You can't at that.
no. But you said something that I love going back to it is, I don't want to work that hard. Great. Then you won't get the result. And that's okay because not everybody has a goal as large as others. And what I find today is a lot of partners of ours, a lot of agents of ours, they don't want to work that hard. I think they watch social media and they see people traveling and posting these pictures everywhere and they want the lifestyle, but they're not willing to be who they need to be to get a lifestyle. They just want
Filter. It's a good filter. We don't want everybody at the top anyways.
No. That's right. That's right.
So- But the good news is if you work hard, you get to 160 transactions, you're only going to be working 3.5 days a week unless you want to work more.
Well,
So-
there you go. There you go. I agree. So how do you find a lot of people talk about this idea of balance? And I know for me, I was unbalanced for probably the majority of my business, where today I have balance. I could go away on vacation for 2 weeks and the place is not going to burn down. I trust the people there and they're going to do a great job. I have balance. What about when you were building? Is there such a thing as balance when you're in build mode?
There is and there isn't. When you're in build mode, you're in overdrive and you're working around the clock to build this infrastructure that's going to yield you nicely. Once you hit a good level of momentum, if you're on the listing side of the business, you'll have money and the time to enjoy it. If you're working on the buy side, you will work very hard and have very few days off. When you look at it, a listing agent, true listing agent only has to work 225 days out of 365. You're going to take 6 to 8 weeks vacation or educational events or a combination of both, or a week of the flu or whatever, all that adds up. And you're going to have money and the time to enjoy it. You go out of town, you come back for your listing sold. Try it with a buyer.
Exactly. Exactly. And Mike used to always say, when you go out on vacation, all the other agents are selling your properties. So they're almost working for you.
So it's a wonderful thing to aspire to, just be a listing agent and life is just bliss.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny because I have a lot of agents. We have friends that are still buyers agents. They like that side of the business. So talk to me a little bit about personality styles, because I know you're involved in DISC and you've heard it all about that. There are certain agents that like the battle sometimes with the seller, but then there are other agents that like the relationships and they do like to work with buyers. I have a lot of agents that
Ones that like to work with buyers, and with what's coming up with NAR, unfortunately, they're going to be making about a third less. God love them, and we need plenty of them to sell our listings.
Yeah. And it's interesting, Ren, we went down this path where we thought, let's say I have a buyer myself and they can pick me or they can pick a brand new agent. Now, if I say to the buyer, okay, the going, whatever, this listing is offering 1%, but I'm worth 3. And this is what I charge. I charge 3%. Just as a listing agent, I charge 7%, whatever I decide I want to charge. We are now seeing that buyers are willing to pay for agents that are worth more to them. And we do have buyers that pay us what we want to be paid. And we have that negotiation up front. I think that's going to be a tool I think it's going to be something that agents need to learn. What is their value? Because
Mm.
as you know, there are top listing agents. I think there's going to be top buyer agents.
Oh, there absolutely will. Although I think we're going to have a separation of church and state, if you will, where the buyer agent is building in, say, I charge 2.5, 4, 3%, 4, whatever I charge, but
Right.
I'm going to build it into the price of the house, into the contract.
Maybe. Yeah. Either way.
Know that the listing agent will determine a buyer fee. All this is up for debate right now.
It is. And it can go many ways, but I do believe the buyer agents have to learn how to set their value. So
I agree. Everybody, let's say you're a brand new attorney, you're going to charge this fee. And once you get really good, you're charging this fee.
Yeah.
Whatever your profession, when you get good, when you know the area, when you can provide a value to your client, a nice value, and you have a reputation for doing so, and everybody knows that you are a rock star in the market, and you can be very effective for them. You can charge whatever you want.
I agree. I agree. Okay, so let's pivot real quick. Let's talk about Vulcan 7 because you own Vulcan 7. You started Vulcan 7 because there was a need in the market years ago. Talk to us about starting Vulcan 7, what it does, and how it helps real estate agents today, and also helps them be compliant with because a lot of agents don't like, I don't want to be sued and the do not call us. So educate us a little bit on what's going on in that world today.
Absolutely. We started because it was harder and harder to reach sellers.
Right.
And I found that I could go online and find phone numbers for 90% of them manually. And I like, we can automate this process. So which we have done. So
Right.
the whole idea is we make it easy for real estate agents to reach sellers that need their help. And that's what it is. So you can be in conversations, because it's all about how many conversations a day can you have with people that are going to need your help. And that's in any sales. So we built that, and I thought it would be a hit, and it was really a hit and works very well. So as far as compliance goes, follow the law. Everything, if it's on the do not call registry, if you're calling it for sale by owner, you better be calling them to discuss bringing a buyer, because outside of that, you could be in a little bit of a violation. Those are marked accordingly, so you can know who you can say what to. And then that makes it very easy. And then you have expires for rent by owners, for sale by owners. You have neighborhood searches with absentee owners. We have likely to list that uses 167 data points from public record that show that this group is way more likely to put their home on the market than this group.
Right.
Pre-foreclosure in those non-judicial states. And then a whole bunch of other categories that are coming up in the first quarter of 2020, in the first and second quarter of 2024, that make it easier to reach sellers that need their help. So it's a great tool if you're on the listing side of the business.
That's it. That's it. And we'll definitely have a link for it down below the podcast so people can find it. But what do you think, because there are these lists available, because there are these sellers and available, these high touch, to me, I'm like, they're the best lead. Why do you think so many agents, because you've had now over 34,000 coaching calls in your career, why do you think so many agents, the majority, they don't want to pick up the phone and call sellers? Why?
But that's a beautiful thing, because when you think about it physically, it's easier to do that than it is to work at McDonald's and flip fries.
Agreed.
It's easier to just sit at home and call somebody. But because there's a mental side to that, and because that takes developing some practice around it, some discipline, because it's not gratifying. There's no dopamine hit in calling and getting, unless you get the appointment. Then there's but there I remember one time Gary Keller said this. He goes, the reason most agents like to work with buyers is it's gratifying. You take them around and you're showing them pretty homes and you meet some fun people and you drive, but you're going to work long and hard for a lot less.
That's
But it's fun if you can embrace repetitious boredom. Where else can you make? And you can relate to this, Tina, because you and I have a lot of similar friends that make $1 million a year pre-tax net or more,
Mhm.
and all they do is list property and they take 6, 8 weeks vacation a year and where can you make $1 million every year?
Nowhere.
Every year. You can't do it on the buy side.
No.
So give it a try on the list.
You
Uh,
might if you live in California, because I was just in California and the average home sale was $20 million.
yeah,
So
there you go. Yeah, there is that. The price is very competitive. Like, oh, I'm selling it myself. So
oh,
it's, yeah. But sure, the commissions are higher, but there are a lot less transactions in some
so
ways.
true. It's so true. It's been the struggle. Of course, we have a team. And from the day one of starting our team, I have tried to train our agents to be listing agents and to pick up the phone and to call. We have all the tools. And I would say out of 50 agents on our team, we have one that consistently does it every day, like I did, just one. And they know that it's not a secret because I used to work at the Remax office. And I remember I'd get in at 7:30. Nobody was in the parking lot. And by 9, 10 o'clock, people would roll in. And then they would knock on my door and say, how did you get that listing? Or how are you doing this? And I'd show them. I'd say, come sit in, listen to the calls, literally telling them. And that's why I tell agents, it's not because they'd say, don't tell them what we do. Why? Because then they're going to go do it. And I was like, no, they won't. They won't.
There is no dopamine hit for them, so they won't do it. They won't. But I was worried about the same thing. If people are going to figure this out, no, they're never going to do it. Yeah, it's all for you. All you have to do is work. What I love about it, and you can relate to this, is work Monday through Friday, somewhere late Friday after you go, okay, I'm done for the week, and start again on Monday as a listing agent.
Yeah.
As
Yeah.
a listing agent, you're working daytime hours.
Yeah. I work late,
Or
right? I work till 7 p.m. I don't know about you. You had some.
I worked till 7 p.m. too. It was like 7:30. I started 7:30 in the morning, and somewhere around 7 p.m. I'd wrap up. On Fridays, sometimes I'd knock off around 6.
That's right. That's
I
right.
do a 4:30 listing appointment or enjoy my weekend.
Let's wrap up. And like I said, I'm going to give everybody a link to Vulcan7 because I think it's a great tool. I think in 2024, Ren, they're going to have to think about how they get more listings because you got to list to last. And if you guys have ever heard Ren on his podcast, because you have a recurring Vulcan7 podcast that's great. Is it a podcast or a YouTube show? I can't remember.
Yeah, you can call it either one. It's on Spotify and it's on everything, so it's everywhere.
Because I listened to it all the time for years when I wanted to get motivated and hear other agents that are doing the crazy job that I did as I didn't get my dopamine hits. So he's a great guy to follow and an inspiration to us all. Thank you for doing the show, Ren.
Thank you for you being the visionary that you are. A lot of people follow what you're doing and your successes, and it's very inspiring.
Thank you, friend. I appreciate you. I hope you have an amazing 2024.
Coming up for this spring, don't you, to get people learning how to take a listing or two? Don't
Oh,
you
we
have-
do. No, we have a course coming out. We have 7 weeks. It's one-on-one for 7 weeks. We're going to teach them exactly what to do to have the results that we did. So I have a former student of mine, basically, that's going to run it with us, and it's going to be great. So they'll find it on my website.
Good. We'll get involved in that for sure. That'll be exciting because it's a lot easier with the real estate's getting a little more interesting unless you're on the listing side, then it's going to be a little more profitable.
I agree. I agree. Thank you for all your sage advice, Ren, and we'll see you soon, my friend.
And thanks for the opportunity to be here.
Absolutely. We'll see you soon.